TikTok's popular Book Talk channel has been buzzing about a new genre called romantasy, and it's spawning whole sections in bookstores. Jeffrey Brown visited the stacks and talked to author Rebecca Yarros to see what's driving this trend. It's part of our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
It was nearly midnight at a Los Angeles bookstore last November, and fans couldn't wait to get their hands on Iron Flame, the hotly anticipated second novel in a series that began with the breakout bestseller Fourth Wing. Together, the two books have now sold more than 6 million copies worldwide.
And if you want a selfie?
Author Rebecca Yarros had been writing and publishing for 10 years, but had no idea what would ensue when she turned to a story that mixes dragons and magic with romance.
It was shocking, to say the least. My publisher was prepared. I was not. I was not prepared for any of it, not the platform growth or being recognized or seeing it out in public. That completely shocked me, to say the least. It's still shocking.
I rated it 4 stars, which is saying something considering I'm not really a fan of romance and fantasy books.
Now she and her books are everywhere, alongside authors like Sarah J. Maas, Jennifer Armentrout, and others who create romance dramas in the midst of epic fantastical worlds. Romance and fantasy, now a full-blown subgenre with its own name, romantasy.
It's basically fantasy written in a romance vein, right? I just think it speaks in whole to women, and then it also brings men in because men love dragons. I'm finding out. I think it's just the market is cyclical, and it was ready.
We have a all romance.
Leah Koch is co-owner of The Ripped Bodice.
Do you find everything okay?
A romance-focused independent bookstore she and her sister first opened in Los Angeles in 2016, and more recently here in Brooklyn.
Fantasy romance is sort of the ultimate escapism. You have both the romance element and then you have a literal different world. Sometimes outer space, sometimes some sort of kingdom that's been invented.
Yeah.
You know, we sell a lot of contemporary romance where people have to pay their taxes and have a parent dying and, do all sorts of...
This is more likely to have dragons. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, The Ripped Bodice is part of a small but growing network of romance-specific bookstores around the country.
How do we define romance novels?
Excellent question. Basically, there's only 2 criteria that you need. Central love story, happy ending.
Central love story, happy ending.
That's it.
Must.
Yes. That is one of the things that people love so much about romance novels. It's the comfort of knowing that everything is going to work out.
And these days, romance works out in a whole lot of ways, including contemporary, queer, erotica, fantasy, and still the traditional historical section. It's a genre that may once have occupied a small, out-of-the-way section in a big bookstore. And Koch acknowledges had a stigma of light, second-rate literature attached to it. Now, she says,
I think that attitude has changed a lot throughout my lifetime, throughout even the amount of time we've been doing this, but it definitely still persists. The thing that I've noticed is people in general, but especially younger people, are getting much better at identifying how things like misogyny, sexism, racism, homophobia are impacting the stories that they're being told. So older generations were told, this is trashy, this is silly, should be read under the cover of darkness. Well, why do you think that? Who's been telling you this? What has led to you having this belief? Because romance is a huge genre.
And it's a genre with a nearly 100-year mass-market publishing history, studied by scholars such as Jayashri Kamble, a professor at LaGuardia Community College in Queens. One area of interest for her, how romance novels reflect their times.
I often say that mass-market romance fiction and novels, they change dramatically, but not traumatically.
Dramatically, but not traumatically.
That's right.
Yeah. Meaning?
By which I mean there's always movement, there's always change in what are popular themes, what kinds of couples, what kinds of understanding of sexuality, what kinds of understanding of gender presentation is sort of valued over time. So as society changes, the genre sort of changes along with it. But because it has this stable core this hopeful idea
The
that
happy
people
ending.
can be happy together. There's no trauma with the change.
The latest focus on romantasy, she says, also reflects the way the genre has come in and out of public awareness.
The House of Romance has many rooms in it, and fantasy has always been one of those rooms, at least in the American mass market. So I think there's always these like interesting moments of like technological change, or like a bestseller suddenly starts to like appear in like, because there's a major PR push around it.
And now,
people
of
think-
course, we have TikTok.
Now we have TikTok.
At the Rip Bodice, Leah Koch has no doubt about its impact.
I cannot deny the tangible financial impact that TikTok has had on my business.
You feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in a literal way. I don't mean like I mean people talk about a book on TikTok and then they come and they buy the book.
Oh, and you see the immediate response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In a way that we didn't with Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
And we're all gonna have a great time.
Becca Yaros credits Book Talk, TikTok's book community, for the popularity of her series. And she loves the direct connection to readers.
But by doing them solid black, we could get this book into your hands by November. Book Talk is why Fourth Wing took off, without a doubt. I think Book Talk is one of the last areas where readers are really in control of what's put out there. Publishers can't control the marketing or anything they say. It's all word of mouth on Book Talk. So if a book talker loves a book, they take it and they make it their own, and off it goes, and videos go viral. And it is really such word of mouth marketing that you can't get anywhere else, because it is true just love of books over there.
And Yaros thinks romantasy is speaking to this very specific moment in time, one she, of course, hopes will last.
I think you're coming out of a post-pandemic world, and I think a lot of reading really shot up during the pandemic. So you have people who are coming into reading fiction that weren't there before, and now we have all these wonderful readers that we get to give our stories to.
Next up, she's writing book 3 of the series, eagerly awaited by readers here at the Rip Bodice and around the world. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in Brooklyn.